Hello everybody, so today I wanted to have a quick chat to you about colour and the ideas I have and the way I'm starting some of my work here in the studio using some sort of approaches to colour. So this is, I'm not going to show my face today actually because I'm going to show you some things I've got in front of me and I want you to be able to see them. So this is an older sketch I did when we were allowed to go out and explore the moors, and this was done in the winter on Marsden Moor, and it's kind of an inspiration really, or a start point inspiration for me to develop a colour palette for a new series of work about the moors and the winter moorland in particular. So this was my kind of start point really, and what I subsequently have done, and I can just share, you won't be able to see very much of it apart from you'll be able to see some of the words. I actually have started to think about, rather than just mixing colours and thinking, oh, what colour is it? I've actually started to write down the names, some sort of fancy descriptions, if you like, of the colours as I see them. And then I've started to try and mix the colours, if that makes sense. So all I'm showing you here is this sort of sheet I've put together. The first thing I've written here is inky peaty blue brown, golden grass, bleached buff, smudgy grey, rich cool turquoise blue, smoky purple, baby blue, and all sorts of other things as well. And what I've done is those names are names that I came up with thinking about and looking at my older sketches. But in addition to that, I've been going on some walks at various times of day around where I can walk near where I live with views of the moors, and I've come up with some other words as well. So suffice to say, it's kind of I've just come up with these descriptive words. And then what I've done is, and I'll take that away and put some new things there, I've actually kind of come up with developed some sheets. I took part in an online course with Emily Ball, which was really helpful, and actually as part of that I actually developed a whole mix of different coloured sheets as backgrounds, and then I've used those to sort of develop some colour palette ideas. So this one is actually some photographs that I've got from magazines and stuff around that I've got some of the kind of bright colours in, and I've written on it in inks. So then subsequently what I've done are these two. And these are, one of them is this gorgeous rich yellow background, which is a mix of white and some azo yellow. And then I've done it on a blue background, if you can see that. But the colour palette is similar, it's just different background colours. So you can see, hopefully you can see that some of these colour descriptions that I was coming up with, like the peaty browns and the buff colours and the rich oranges, and the blues, they're kind of there in that just mix of colours really. And I kind of, rather than just kind of putting colours down as swatches, individual colours, I quite like doing it where I'm actually mixing the colours that I'm talking about, so I can kind of see them side by side really. And this one is somewhat similar, apart from the fact that the background colour is yellow. And I'm not making any attempt to make a painting here. This is purely just to try and work out a colour palette. So I hope that kind of makes sense. So that's really for the winter moors. And it will be interesting to see how this works out, because as I was thinking about it, and as I've been observing the moors of the last few weeks, they are actually either these quite rich colours, or they bleach out because the snow comes, and then they become quite a different palette. So as I'm developing these paintings, it'll be interesting to see whether or not some of the series are like this and some of them are quite different to represent snow, or whether I kind of evolve a colour palette that kind of works. Who knows, but this is kind of a start point for me at any rate. And I just wanted to share now another set of colours. If you remember, I've been talking quite a lot about the edgelands, and so I've come up with another list for my edgelands work. And the edgelands, if you remember, and I have a concertina that I developed, is all about the edges and the margins of the fields and alongside the paths where you walk. And so you get these beautiful stone walls in very different colours, and then you get these rich colours, all manner of shades of reds and oranges, depending on the time of year, and bleaches and greens of the plants. So I've written some names here, and I'll just read a couple of them. Sludgy slate grey, dank felty brown, and then those are the kind of the colours I'm thinking of, and the greys of the wall. And then I've got the rich velvety rusty red, the Christmas holly green, and then the spring acid green, because oftentimes against the walls you've got the colours of the fields which seem almost brighter. So anyway, that's, again, I've written colour descriptions associated with my feelings of them. And I've done 3 different sheets here. So I've just done this one on quite a sludgy background, with the different colours that I was just describing to you. I'll put them one up at a time, actually. And then I have done a darker green, this Christmas holly green I was talking about, with the colours again, and the stone wall kind of colours together with the colours of the potential planting. And then I've done one with a bright green background, just really to try and get me thinking about the association of these colours together and how they work together. So again, they're not compositions, they're just literally me marking down different colours on the paper. And what I've done with the edgelands is I did start some work on paper, which wasn't going particularly well. But what I've got are these lovely block panels I'm going to work on, and these are only little square blocks of 6 inches each. They're going to become paintings, and they're really deep, if you can see. But I've done them each of those different colours to see whether I can get those working with those colours as a sort of a start background colour. So I don't know if that makes sense, but hopefully you can see that. So that's really the sort of way I've approached getting started. And what I'm just going to do now is show you how I kind of set up just briefly, show how I set up my colour palette for these works. I'm not going to obviously mix all these different colours, but I'm going to show you the sort of colour palette that I've started using. Okay, so here is my colour palette, and I've just set it up as a stay wet palette with some wet paper towel on a tray, together with some greaseproof paper. So if I just go through the colours, I have got, I hope you can see that actually, that's lemon yellow, cadmium yellow, azo yellow, which is much more transparent, looks a bit like yellow ochre in a blob like that, but it's very transparent, it's very beautiful. This is Indian yellow. So I'm going from cool to warm, and then I've got a cad red, I've got an alizarin crimson, I have got a quinacridone magenta. So these two are quite transparent, and again I'm going from warm to cool. And then I've got manganese blue hue. Now that's a more of a liquidy paint. The rest of them are full-bodied, heavy-bodied paints in tubes. So this is a manganese blue hue. This is a cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, and phthalo blue. And phthalo blue is really nice because it's again transparent. And again, this time I'm going from cool through to warm. So the ultramarine and the phthalo are warmer. And then this is titanium white. So that's kind of the kind of broad colour palette I'm using, which is kind of in some ways similar to what I was using on the course that I mentioned to you, but with some kind of changes and reductions really. And really I've created all of the colours that I showed you from these. One of the colours that I mentioned creating was that very pale green, or sort of acidy green. So that's a lemon yellow, so that's a very cool yellow. And if I put just a touch of the manganese in, you can see how greeny that gets. So that's quite nice, and that's similar to what I showed you, and the manganese is quite transparent. So if I show you that on a paper, hopefully you can see that. So that's pretty much an acidy kind of green colour, quite nice. Better to put your yellow down first and add your blue to it. See, that gets to a really nice darky colour. And if the green is too kind of brighty green, then you can add a little bit of its complement, which in the case of green is red, to dull it down. But that is pretty much the green I was telling you about. So hopefully you can see that. And if you add more blue, let's see how it changes. That's just a case of playing around, and I just wanted to show you a couple of the colours that I was sharing on those previous ones. Previous sheets talking about the winter moors and the edgelands. So then if you want to make that more kind of khaki, I could add a tiny bit of red. If I then wanted to make that, shouldn't really be mixing the things like that. It's a bit too kind of greeny green. I add some, so you see how you can kind of, once you start mixing all three primaries and you're starting to get greys. It's almost like the khaki green that I was telling you about. A bit much now. Anyway, you kind of get the impression. And I just wanted to finish by showing you kind of one of the darks that I create. So that's actually quite a nice. It's not the colour that I was showing you. If I add a bit more blue. Now it needs to be flattened a bit because it's gone a bit. Now that was a kind of khaki kind of colour I was showing you. That makes sense. That kind of khaki flat. It needs to be a dark, and go back to my phthalo blue, which is a transparent blue, and if I add that together with some alizarin crimson and some azo yellow, I get quite a nice darky brown. It's a case of playing around with the ratios. If I have them all in equal, you get them almost black. But that's sort of, that's quite blacky now actually. If I add some more, it's coming more brown. Peachy brown. When you add white, you can soon see what the kind of predominant colour is. But that's that dark sort of brown I mentioned to you. Anyway, I'll leave it there, but I just wanted to share with you the sort of colours I use and how I sort of mix. And obviously, if I'm wanting larger volumes, I'm going to have to mix them in bigger tubs and things like this. Especially if I want to keep them and stuff as well. But whilst I'm trialling colours and seeing which ones are going to be the predominant ones, then this sort of approach makes sense. Okay, thanks, and thanks for watching, and please, if you like my videos, please do like and subscribe. That's really appreciated. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.